Hello, everyone. You're welcome to this special edition of TAD Need to Know series. This is a follow-up of a very beautiful session we had where Assistant Professor Esther Akinyemi, who I'm hosting, shared different concepts on mental health. But because of the positive feedback we got, we decided to do mini series. So this is a mini series. This is the first of the mini series, and this is just for about 10 minutes. She's going to be talking on a particular topic, zeroing in on a particular topic. And one of the topics I felt we needed to talk about in more detail is the role of marijuana. But before doing that, let me just welcome Assistant Professor Esther. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad that we're doing some work to help people.
Thank you very much. I believe that the first thing we even need to do is awareness. And if that's all we do, essentially that's the right step to begin. But today we want to learn about marijuana. And I'm saying this because some time ago, I had a long discussion with a friend. And in the course of having that discussion, we discussed about depression and the other side being mania and the normal. And he told me that as far as he's concerned, marijuana has a lot of benefits that are not known. And when he said that, I was like, really? I said, yes, because in my mind, every time I say marijuana shop, my mind, I just get angry because I think these places are just destroying people's lives. But he told me that there are actually very positive benefits to using marijuana when it comes to mental health. Now, I liked what he said, but I like to hear it from a professional's point of view. Because if that is the case, then I think maybe even some of our churches need to share more light on it. But my concern is that it appears there's a lot of ignorance in this. So, Professor, what do you think? Just educate us on this.
So marijuana is a drug. That's the first thing we need to kind of acknowledge about it. And it is active. It's active in the body. It's active in the brain. And I think anything we put in our mouth, frankly speaking, has a potential to affect us. Sometimes for good, sometimes for not so good. And marijuana is one of those things that is very controversial. I know in the medical field, there's definitely proponents that think, yes, we should study this a lot more. There's also proponents that say this is probably not a good idea. In terms of benefits, marijuana does have some benefits. So marijuana can help with some anxiety. The evidence for it, however, is very low. There are much better medications that can help with anxiety with less risk compared to marijuana. Now, I have to say that with a word of caution that the full risk of marijuana is not known, and it also depends on the different types of marijuana that you use and how you use it. Smoking anything usually causes more problem, period. So if you're thinking about smoking marijuana, oftentimes you're going to be introducing other things that are not marijuana as well into your body that would likely hurt you and would not be worth the benefit of whatever you were trying to do. Something else that marijuana helps with is pain. Again, there's some evidence that marijuana can help with pain, especially chronic pain, and that in some people, it can help you use less opioids. Opioids are studied better, and when used in right doses are actually pretty safe. So the big problem with marijuana is there's some studies about it, but there's not as much studies in terms of the full effect of marijuana. We do know that marijuana is pretty bad for the growing brain. So for children, we know that it's not good for any child to use marijuana, despite the fact that it can help with anxiety, it can help with pain. In children, it also can cause more trouble. In adults, it's less much so, but again, there are other health benefits and risks that are associated with its use. So we generally...
I don't lose you. What age would you consider as childhood and adulthood? Are you able to put an age range? So just for
generally, we consider 18 and under.
And
the child. If you're not yet 18, you're considered to be a child. And frankly speaking, if you have to look at where the brain is growing, a lot of brain is not fully developed until the early to mid 20s. So in reality, you want to stay away from marijuana in any time the brain is growing. But in terms of studies and things that people look at, they really look at below 18 as children. So you really don't want to have marijuana use. Marijuana is associated with psychosis, which is what we call crazy. And for people in Nigeria, people with Mombili, marijuana can be part of the cause of that. Actually, when you have younger kids about the 20s, college age, that start using marijuana, oftentimes it can be one of the things that pushes them over the edge into full-blown schizophrenia. So we as clinicians, we don't typically recommend the use of marijuana. Probably pain would be the most that most clinicians would even consider using it for. But even then, that would have to be that you've tried things that are known to be helpful and with less risk and better studied. So we don't typically recommend it, even though it's legal in a lot of places, including where I am right now. Marijuana is legal. Some people use marijuana for appetite stimulation, and yes, marijuana can help with appetite stimulation. So if you have somebody who you've tried everything and they can't eat, that might be a consideration. A word of caution, though, it also will help with nausea, so the feeling of wanting to throw up. Too much of marijuana can actually cause excessive vomiting too.
I see.
And actually can cause more pain at some point if you use a lot of it. So it's one of the reasons why we don't recommend it, because it's not studied well to say, oh, this is the right dose. This is not the right dose. It's just everybody using whatever they want. But it will help calm people down and help with pain.
So if I were to summarize what you've said, there are indeed some benefits to using marijuana. It's just that it's not been studied in sufficient quantity as to enable us make an informed decision as to what to use as and when necessary. And I'm saying that because it's ubiquitous now. I see marijuana. I live in Toronto, Canada, and I see marijuana shops everywhere. And I see kids. I mean, I used to drive Uber at some point, and I would drop the kids there. They would go in, take a stash, and come back. And I always felt pain. I was like, what's happening here? But of course, because it's legalized, I couldn't say anything. I just mind my business. What I'm hearing from you is there are benefits, some of which include reducing anxiety. You said it helps with, what are the other things?
Pain.
Anxiety, pain, and there was a third one.
Nausea and appetite stimulation.
But the problem is that if not taking the right quantity, it does more harm than good. And that's what I'm hearing from you. So people who are concerned about marijuana do have right reasons to be concerned. And you also talk about the fact that it actually pushes one into schizophrenia. And that's something that I think is a concern that we need to bear in mind. So thanks for that. Hopefully there will be more education on this. There will be more knowledge about this, because my fear is that depression or anxiety, mental health issues, one of the primary things we need to focus is creating more awareness. And I believe that's what this video does. So if you're the one who's been taking marijuana in small or large quantities, please watch this again and again to be sure that you don't do yourself more harm than good. So we'll come your way next time. Thank you very much. It's Assistant Professor. I'm sure that very soon I will drop the assistant and call her Professor Esther Akinyemi. Thank you very much for your time, and see you around. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty.